All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of Galactic Reviews. This is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the fifth and presumably the last Indiana Jones movie. The only reason why I said presumably was because I thought Crystal Skull was supposed to be the last one, but they made another one instead. In my opinion, this was better than Crystal Skull. Um, but still on the latter end. I enjoyed it at some parts, and then there were a lot of parts that I kind of just zoned out in. I don't know if it's because this is a older Indiana Jones, so it's not really as action heavy and oriented as the other four,
Hmm.
specifically the first three. So I understood that, but there were just some parts of the plot that just didn't really click with me. They kind of felt kind of forced and just a little bit far-fetched for me. Very much like with the Crystal Skull. There were a lot of parts that just felt far-fetched for me. Um,
I'm going with the alien thing.
100% the alien thing was what really got me with the Crystal Skull. I'm like, I understand Indiana Jones deals with like the first one
Supernatural.
was the first one, the
Like,
Ark of the
yeah,
Covenant. But that one made sense because it's like a historical
yeah, a
religious
lot.
thing.
Yeah, it,
The
it
second one,
differed a lot
I don't remember
from
what the second one was over. I know the third one was the Holy Grail.
the second one was over like these uh Hindu stones that seem to be from India. That's some
It's been so
the
long.
land
I
nourishment and stuff. And
Yeah, that
but
one,
yeah,
and then as a child, that was the one that terrified me the most, specifically because they like ripped out this guy's heart and like dipped him in lava and watched the heart burn. And I'm like, all right, nope, I'm out.
yeah, but short round though.
Yes, I was really hoping to see a cameo for the actor who played Short Round in this movie,
Yeah.
and I didn't get it. I was a little disappointed by that. Not saying that made my review for this movie worse, but I just, I would have liked to see Short Round have an appearance in this final movie. Regardless, I just don't know specifically how I feel. Also, I meant to look this up before we started recording the timeline of Indiana Jones because I thought the fourth movie, Crystal Skull, took place in the 90s,
No,
like
no.
late 90s, early 2000s.
No, the Crystal Skulls one takes place. Seems like they're all greasers, so I'm assuming the 60s, 50s, 60s, something like that. It's after World War II. It's they're doing like
Well,
it's
I
sort
would
of like
assume
the
it's after
Russia.
World War II
They're kind
because
of
the
showing
first
like a
one's.
Russia Cold War kind of thing in the beginning of it with
Oh,
the Ukrainian lady. Um,
okay, so I'm trying
so
to
it's
figure out.
somewhere around that area, and then this one's more so in the 70s and 80s range with everybody dressing like hippies and then the moon landing.
Yeah, during like I'm
So
assuming the Vietnam War. I'm assuming
yes,
that's the war he
this
was
is during
referring
that
to that
time
his son went
frame.
into.
Yes, so probably very early 70s, because this is
Yeah,
because I think it ended in 72, Vietnam.
yeah,
So and it went from
yeah.
60 to 70s. So and this is the Harris,
Okay,
this is Indiana Jones that I would assume is at least 10 to 20 years older than when we saw him in Crystal Skull. So if we put the that so the fourth one was probably somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s, and this one's probably in the early 70s, late 60s, something in that time frame.
okay, okay.
So,
I'm just trying to figure because it's been so long, and I meant to look this up and I just forgot.
oh no, they're
Um,
not. Yeah, no, I get it. They're not really clear as to when everything occurs.
yeah, yeah. They were in like the first two or three movies.
Yeah,
Like what,
they were. They
but then
would usually
again,
put a date
those
underneath.
movies came out. Yeah, those movies came out all in the span of 10 years. So,
Yeah,
and then it took them about 10 years before they released Crystal Skull. 10, 15 years. And another, what, almost 10 years to do the fifth one, I think. Close to it.
10
I
years
don't
to the
remember
fifth
when
one.
Crystal Skull.
Probably at least 15, because I think Crystal Skull came out like 2008 or something like that.
Was it?
I think so.
It might have been. No, that sounds roughly right. No, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I'm guessing around 2008. I'm not
Wow.
saying like, so it's at least been 15
Yeah.
years.
If this is an actual finale for Indiana Jones, I think it was a pretty decent finale for him a little bit. Was not a big fan of uh just gonna go right into spoilers because I don't know if I can how to explain this movie without spoiling something.
It doesn't matter, dude.
Um
It's been maybe like a month,
yeah.
and we were
Uh,
supposed to do this about a month
yeah,
ago,
that's fair.
so it's
That
fine.
does also fair. I don't really enjoy how they killed off his son. Like he's in the fourth movie and then all of a sudden he's just dead. And the reason is he just went to war, which makes sense. Um but at the same time they could have done like what they did in the Kingsman movie and
Mhm,
like showed his son going to war or whatever and dying in war. Um, but no, it's just nope, he died in war, and that's all that's said about it.
mhm.
And I'm like, I mean, I guess, all right. I mean, I didn't really care for his son in the fourth movie, but I wasn't expecting him to go out like that. Yeah, that one caught me off guard a little bit, how they just kind of brushed that one under the rug. One of the other big things I didn't really care for was I understand these movies do have some like supernatural element to it, but
Mhm.
the I'm never a big fan of time travel movies.
Yeah,
And this for one just didn't work for me, especially for an Indiana Jones movie. It just doesn't feel, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of like that sort of stuff
mhm,
personally, because it always gets a little bit more confusing, convoluted, um, and just kind of out there, in my opinion. It never really works. For me, that is. I know some other people enjoy it, but to me, it doesn't really work. Also, for an Indiana Jones movies to do like time travel, like Aliens was already pushing it to me, and then time travel just kind of tipped it over that edge, and I was like,
yeah, because that's sort of
like the
going
first half,
from yeah, it's sort of going
yeah,
from the
like the first half,
supernatural of the first three films and trying to make it into science
yeah,
fiction.
yeah, like the first half of the movie where they didn't mention time travel or anything, I was like, okay, that's cool, that works, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh. We also suspect he was able to like predict time travel or like rifts in time so you could and I was like, that's kind of like I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I really just don't know.
If you had to give it a
Um
ranking,
um okay, so I'm trying to think because I said it's better than the Crystal Skull, and to me the Crystal Skull was like a 4. I
okay,
would give this one a 5.5. Probably I would probably watch this movie again if I'm watching all the other movies and just kind of want to continue like finish it as a set.
hmm,
But other than that, I don't think I'm gonna watch this movie anytime re soon. It was just meh.
yeah,
It had good
yeah.
parts, but there were a lot of other things that kind of outweighed it.
So I'm going to start off with I did not like this movie. It sucked as an Indiana Jones movie. As a movie in itself, it stinks. Add that it's an Indiana Jones movie, it's insulting.
Yeah.
The main character, Indiana Jones,
But will you
is
say was it better than Crystal Skull?
no, no.
I think it was solely on the fact of it didn't have I feel like the two of the biggest problems was the aliens and the fact of his son. I just did not like his son's personality in that movie. Um,
It it made sense for um, some of the stuff,
it made sense,
and I didn't hate
but at the
his
same
son's
time,
character during the fourth film, so I was fine with it. So for that.
No, that's fair.
I didn't like the whatchamacallit, I didn't like the alien things. I kind of already talked about that a little bit on the fourth film, but I liked what they did for Indiana Jones. It was an Indiana Jones film with an older Indiana Jones. Still treated the character with respect.
Had a good amount of action in that movie, I will say.
Had a good amount of action. You got to see the character was competent in what he did. He didn't need to be basically held by a leash by Shia LaBeouf's character. They both worked in tandem. Probably a lot more since he was older, but they still worked. It was mainly him pulling most of the strings with Shia LaBeouf's character Mutt, every now and then helping him out in ways that he wasn't expecting. And the only reason why that's not a good Indiana Jones film is because they go into more so the alien routes and all that sort of stuff, and that kind of takes it out of the doesn't make it that takes it out of the feel of the Indiana Jones movie. This one does the same thing, only it's way more insulting. The female character is, which I really don't give a frick what her name is. She is the most insufferable,
I don't
annoying
remember.
person in the whole film, and she always ups him in one way or another, whether it be through simple dialogue that the two characters have, whether it be that she knows something more than he does, even though he's an expert on this stuff and has been basically lived through a lot of this. I mean,
I think the biggest
it's
downfall of that character and that dynamic is that she's all in it for solely the money value
not
of it.
not completely. She automatically just changes it at the end where she's no longer for money,
She does. She
which
does,
makes no
which
sense.
was a very
Which doesn't it doesn't explain her
fit the
character at
character.
all. She is
No.
essentially just a Mary Sue in some aspects. They do say that she's a rotten character, but the film portrays her as a character that you should look up to. And I'm gonna say it, the actress ugly. I don't know why, and yet she's treated like she is a. She looks like a skinny skeleton with the toucan Sam nose of a. Like she doesn't look attractive, and yet every guy in the film apparently wants her.
Yeah,
So you're already bordering on like crazy. Um, and I think at about like the 2/3 or like 3/4 of the film, they're getting ready to. You get to see all the stuff like acknowledging that they're going to time travel, and then when like time travel does happen, like with the watch on what's his name, Aristotle. I think it's Aristotle. I'm not Socrates. I don't remember
yeah.
which one it is. One of the Greek philosophers. When you see the watch on his skeleton, and then you see the watch on what's his face,
It's Archimedes.
you know that Archimedes, whatever his name is, and you see it on the the evil Nazi guy. You know, there is no stakes because you know this is going to happen, and it makes it even more redundant. Where at the end of the film, you realize that it was never going to work anyway. The dial was always going to go back to that specific point in time. It was never going to work. It was never going to send them back to Hitler. It was never going to send them back at all. It was only going to go back to that specific point in time. It makes the whole
Yeah.
movie pointless. And add insult to injury, Indiana Jones is a broken down old man that's basically yelling at neighbors for having the music up too loud. He's going through a divorce that in the fourth film seemed to be a good marriage. They were setting that up wonderfully. They actually gave him a happy ending in the fourth movie, which whether you like the fourth film or not, you can at least acknowledge, hey, they gave him a wonderful ending. They ruined
Yeah.
that automatically.
I thought it was a pretty good I thought all in all it was a very good ending for Indiana Jones. This one kind of it
It ruins it.
it fixed it to an extent where the beginning of the movie ruined it.
It no, it
It
does
fixed
not.
it just enough.
It does not.
It fixed it it fixed it just enough where it was like, okay, they're back together
It doesn't say
and
they're back together, and it really never actually like
That's fair.
It doesn't ever say they're back together. It shows that they still have
But
feelings
what's
for
his
each
name was
other,
back.
but it
I'll always take that. What is
Salah,
his name? Yeah,
I liked him. I didn't like how
and he didn't
they
get
did him
betrayed.
in the
He didn't
I
betray
like
him like what's his name did.
I liked him. I didn't like how they showed him in the film. I There's a whole bunch of lines like the grandkids ignore him for whatever reason, and I get like some
I
kids
mean,
will
it's
act ignorant,
grandkids,
but
of
they did.
course.
But I think they over exaggerated a whole bunch, the whole time they did it. Um, I find it ironic that they're trying to avert racism, but they make an Egyptian who came to America a cab driver. I think that's ironic.
No, because you have to think of the like time error. I think the
I
only
know, but it's
problem I
also
had,
yeah,
I know the only
but
problem I had with it was they had the lead of like the FBI or whatever as a black female when at the time JFK was trying to get black people to have more prominent jobs, but 100% would not be in charge of any sort of
well, that and she's the
special
most racist
investigation of that
person.
degree.
She
I was about to
literally calls
say
all the white
that,
guys
and
crackers, and
I
the
was about to
white
say
guys,
that,
even
and
though the white guys are Nazis, they never say anything to her.
that was probably the only, if you want to like forget and erase that, then you won't bring it up in a movie.
Oh no, they deliberately shove it in your face.
Yeah, like let's
And
be
she
honest,
literally,
that
not only does she covers up two murders. Actually, no, I think maybe three. She covers up three
yeah,
murders and doesn't say anything. But when they start to take a plane away from their main objective, oh, that's a little bit too far. Like,
yeah.
and this is
I
supposed to be
did not.
someone in the FBI or CIA, and I don't even know
Yeah,
why she's
no,
in charge. I
I
thought it was
think
the guy that had the broken leg. So I don't know why
I
she all of a sudden became in charge, but it makes no sense in
yeah,
this
well,
film.
I didn't understand her purpose either. Like she was tailing her and then fed them information. I'm like, okay, so she's like a spy or whatever.
Yeah,
And then she just continued following them, and then she gets on the plane, tells I don't see where her role fits. She had
she's just a
probably
plot
one of the
device.
most ins I was about to say she was
Plot
probably
device.
one of the most insignificant roles.
Yep.
Uh, it
Wasn't needed,
ser
but
she
it's
served, yeah, she served her purpose as a spy to reveal, hey, they're at this location, blah blah blah, and then she just kind of continued to force herself into being a part of the movie.
yeah, and she's not a good guy. So I don't know why like anybody would. She's not a good guy, but yet the film kind of treats it like she is. So I don't know.
Another character I wasn't a big fan of because I just felt like it didn't make sense was the kid.
Yeah, knock
How
off
he
short
was
round.
able,
It makes no sense.
yeah, well, he was able to know how to do pretty much everything. I mean, he
Yeah,
did say, yeah,
much like the female. So
yeah, he
it
did
kind of
say,
goes in
hey,
tandem, but
I don't know how to fly a plane. And then he goes and he flies a plane. I will say, however, he was learning how to do it in the beginning of the movie,
there's
like the first time you meet him. So I will give them credit of him
yeah, isn't
possibly
that convenient?
understanding
He's
under
learning it right then, you know. Isn't that
I was about to
convenient?
say understanding the steps of how to do it, but to be able to implement it is a
Yeah.
totally different thing.
Yeah, and it's also lucky that there was a guy in sleeping in the plane. Like, isn't he lucky? Otherwise, he probably would have died.
However, I'm sure that guy would have woken up way before
Well,
that,
when I'm
knowing the
saying,
plane
I'm
and
saying it's
everything.
no, I'm just saying it's convenient that he was there.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that's
I'm
stupid.
like I'm like even with short round didn't know much of anything.
Like, you know how to drive, but even then, he wasn't really great at it.
Yeah,
So,
he
I
couldn't
mean,
see
it's
like over the steering wheel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's just a whole bunch of problems with this film.
I will say I did enjoy the villain in this movie. Um,
I did think he did a good job acting wise. I just the whole plot kind of undermines his intelligence because at the end of the day, not only was he was right about it being able to do time travel, but he never could have gone back to do his objective with the device anyway.
Yes, however, I think the premise, honestly, if they were able to go back in time to a point like that and have younger Indiana Jones kind of, help in some sort of way, inadvertently or something to that extent, I think that would have been a much better
Yes,
time
but
travel weird
yeah, yeah,
conclusion.
but that it still makes
But
it just
also very
undermines his character
like
because it shows his
no,
incompetence with
yeah,
it.
I think I'm trying to think of, but then you also have to get where the girl, I think the only way to have the main heroine have the complete 180 personality change would to have a like conversation with someone significant in her life besides Indiana Jones, who is only there for like the first 12 years of her life. So I
Which
don't even know how to like have that be helped turn with her personality.
it doesn't give
I don't.
anything. Like literally, it just flips. Like after they decide to run away when he's in the middle of the fight, she would have done that regardless
Yeah,
previously.
yeah.
So it makes no sense as to why all of a sudden she wants to go back to save him. Doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Um,
Also
there's
wished for more of the use of the whip. He only used it probably I think twice in this movie.
Yeah, it was probably for it was more likely for nostalgia reasons, and also they needed it in the trailer because that was prominent in the trailer that he was using the whip. So
Yeah.
it's it's
I do
it's
enjoy the fact of like the fact of he uses the whip and everyone just pulls out a gun, pretty much what he
yeah,
did in the first movie. Um,
yeah, but he wouldn't be
but
this
still, I
stupid.
don't think at the age he's at, and the way he would not be able to move like that, I doubt.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, in the first scene of him, he just looks extremely ragged. I don't think he would be able to function like that. I'm sure, I just went blank on the actor's name, Harrison Ford, um, does not look like that without a shirt on. Um, and if he does,
well,
then
he is like 80 something.
I'm in, yeah, no, but like, uh, how much weaker he looks. I just am surprised he's still able to
Yeah,
move to that extent. Um,
I don't know. I think they did that deliberately as well. So I
and
mean,
that freely.
they tried to break down this character. They also made Mutt. You mentioned Mutt going to Vietnam. They say that Mutt went there to spite Indiana Jones. Like not to honor his family, not to do his
which
duty. No,
does
he
kind of
signed up to spite him. And at the end of the
which
fourth
kind of
film,
fits his character from the
to
fourth
some
film,
degree. However,
but
by the
I will
fourth
admit
film,
at
by
the
the
end of
end
the
of it,
fourth
he
film,
somewhat has respect for Indiana Jones. Whereas in this one, it seems like they're backtracking it and putting him right back at the beginning of like in the middle of the fourth film when he was wanting to do everything against his dad.
yeah,
So
I mean, I just as I said, the biggest problem I had it was keeping up with I couldn't remember when the fourth movie took place and then when this movie took place. I understood this movie took place during JFK's, I was assuming around the end of the Vietnam War, roughly.
yeah, yeah,
Um
probably around that.
and then I don't know, I just feel like he aged rather quickly if the first movie took place at the end or roughly around the end of the Second
It's
World War.
it's past the end of the Second World War, so maybe assume at least 1950, probably further after, probably a little bit after that, maybe like
Yeah, but he
1955.
aged. Yeah, but in that movie, he looks like he's in his 30s. So I know I assume
In
that would
that
be roughly
movie.
right. Like he's in
Who
his mid 20s, early 30s, I would assume.
in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
No, no, no. In the first Indiana Jones,
In the first Indiana
the
Jones,
Raiders
that's
of
like what
Lost Ark.
1936 maybe, um,
Is it?
something like that.
I don't remember.
He's like probably
I
about 20 because you do get the him younger in like
Yeah.
19 maybe 1918,
Hmm.
1920, something like that. Early like the
I would say he's at least in his
1910s.
mid 20s because they
Yeah,
did
he's
have
at
the
least
3 season run of him the Indiana Jones TV show. or
Yeah,
young Indiana Jones, and I think in that he was like a teenager.
yeah.
So I think the first Indiana Jones movie, he was in his early to mid 20s.
No, I do not like. I don't like the female character. They make her one up him every other time. Every, every time he doesn't get an opportunity. When in the opportunities that he does, like seem to do something, she already knew what needed to be done. He just did it like that. Like the one with like the wood and wax thing where they burn the thing in order to find the silver or the gold medallion sort of thing. She already knew that.
Yeah.
He just did it. So it was going to get done no matter what. She also blatantly kills his. She also blatantly lets Indy's old friend die. The guy, the Puss in Boots
Oh,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
On the boat.
she
Yeah.
deliberately lets him die because she knows everything, and she does not decide to speak up. So I mean, and we know she's going to betray him. Like she's shown to be betraying anyway. So it makes no sense.
Well,
Um,
that goes to the next thing. Like the whole thing, Indiana Jones 100% would not give the information, and
yeah.
they would 100% kill one of his friends to coax him to give the information. But
Heck,
even with
that
that,
was
he
even
wouldn't give the
referenced in
information.
Heck, that was even referenced in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Mud does his hair and then says, "Don't say a word." And you're like, "You heard him," you know. And he's been with the kid for at least a couple days, so he's not really grown a strong bond, but he's at least like, yeah, he's better. He's not a friend yet, but he probably will be at some point.
Yeah.
Like regardless of whether he was
Um,
his kid or not, like he wasn't about to do that. So
I
he was
just
about to let him die. Be like, you heard him. I'm not saying it's jack squat. So the whole
I don't
thing
know.
is her character is the most annoying, most egregious thing in this film, and
And I mean,
um
so is the
and she
kid
saves
that's
the
with her.
day. The
The kid
kids,
is pretty much just an attempt at being a short round
yeah,
that just can do everything.
yeah, and at
And
least he's somewhat tolerable to some degree. He does still make mistakes, so he's not
he does.
completely like
Yeah.
I can do anything. But yeah, I will agree he's not that great. A better film would literally be finding out that his son is in like a POW camp because he had to get drafted, and and him in short round going and rescuing his son with like help from Sala and maybe Jock. You know, it's not crazy to do. Like there is a story you could do
Yeah.
with an older Indiana Jones. This one
I
just
know.
really
I enjoyed
sucked.
they brought and had yeah, they brought and they had cameos of everyone except for Short Round and what's her name from the second movie? The main
Uh,
heroine in the second movie? I don't know if
Nobody
she's still
cares.
alive.
I don't know, and I don't think anybody would have cared about her. Everybody cared more about short
I
round
mean, that's
anyway.
fair.
Like she's
I
the
mean,
part that
yeah,
everybody
no,
hates in
100%.
that movie. Um,
Yeah.
Short
Yeah,
round
to
would have
an
been good.
extent,
They
yeah.
could have easily had Chris Pratt because I mean, rumors were about Chris Pratt playing younger Indiana Jones. They could have easily had Chris Pratt play a Shia LaBeouf or getting another actor to play Shia LaBeouf's character if you didn't want Shia LaBeouf back. It's just stupid. And I'm going to stop there
Yeah,
because
no,
we're
I
about
will
to.
agree with that. I no, I will agree with that real quick. And last, I understand why they didn't get a replacement for Shia. I understand the reason why they didn't get a replacement to play Shia LaBeouf, since they were able to get all of the previous actors who played their respected roles in the previous movies to return. So
Yes,
I
and
will give them credit for that. However,
they
I
could have
would
done
have
it in a.
enjoyed to
Yeah.
see the that character still exist.
Yeah, and it would have been great to
Um,
at least get like maybe not some involvement with the character, but at least get maybe some flashbacks, get to see some like depth of the character and not just like a total tear down of yeah, this kid decided to become a prick to his dad and decided to enlist in Vietnam only to get shot. You know, like
yeah.
it's not a good look. And considering everything they've done to like characters like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, I mean,
Well,
are we
I mean,
shocked that
it's
they
not
did
just
exactly
that.
the
Yeah,
same
no, that's
thing
fair.
to
Um,
Indiana
it's not
Jones?
just that. It's also the fact of from the end of the fourth movie, it looks like he was going to take the place as or the mantle of
Yeah,
Indiana Jones.
yeah, and
Um,
that's what I'm saying. You could either have him,
and I'm like, I'm like, so he was going to be trained. 100% probably wasn't going to be as smart, but he was a much better fighter,
Yeah,
if I recall.
he was. And he was smart. He just didn't care to do anything. Like they had developed that in the
Okay.
film that
It has,
Marion
I haven't
Marion
watched
had
that
like,
movie in
well, I watched them
so
all
long.
I watched
I
them all
don't
well
remember
before
it.
this. I watched them all well before this film, and they are
Okay.
all better. Like
Yeah.
I'm even saying Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, they're better than this film.
Okay. I'm gonna
But
have to
they had
rewatch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I haven't seen it pretty much since it, like a year or two since it after it
yeah,
came out.
there is
So
stuff
a
I
good
like in
10
there.
years.
There's stuff I like in there, but I wish like they hadn't done the aliens thing. That's one of the main things where I'm like, that makes it not feel like Indiana Jones, and it really takes away from
Yeah.
feeling like Indiana Jones movie, especially towards the end, because now it's just like, well, this now just got into everything that isn't Indiana Jones. So, but it feels good until about that later end. But then you get like a
I
happy ending.
still
It's like,
think
okay, I can
probably
forgive it.
one of my favorite Indiana Jones was probably the third one.
Yeah, I love Last
I just
Crusade.
liked
I
The Last Crusade.
absolutely, I love Sean Connery in that movie. I just love that movie as a whole. I think
They
I
just,
think that film is
yeah,
good.
yeah. I think that's
You get to
probably
see
my
more of
favorite one.
Marcus Brody in there, which you really don't get to see much of in any of the other films. So
Yeah,
I mean, they did a good job with that. One's probably one of the best ones. That one and Raiders is probably up there for number one. Um,
yeah. I mean,
so
the Temple of Doom was okay, but still, it was just Short Round. Short Round
yeah,
really held up that movie.
yeah. That movie was okay. There was definitely some problems with it, especially more so towards uh, Willie's character. I believe that's her name.
I
Because
don't remember.
she was an annoyance, and the actress, I don't know if it was the line dialogue that she was given or she just couldn't act. It just wasn't that great. And she was
Yeah,
more so an annoyance than
I don't
anything.
remember.
But
Yeah. When I go and watch Indiana Jones movies, it's usually just the um Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade.
yeah,
Those are just two of the best Indiana Jones movies, in my opinion.
yeah. And even with this film, they diss on, like, it's subtle, but they diss on like old stuff. They diss on it. They have the Spear of Destiny, which, if you don't know anything about the Indiana Jones comic book lore, that is an actual thing in that he did go try to find in the comics. They
I haven't read
definitely
any of
diss.
his comics. I've been meaning to. I
I've been
just
wanting
haven't.
to, and I haven't. The only reason why I know this is because people that I watched had talked about this movie, and or had talked about stuff in previous times. Especially this guy named Drunk 3PO, who loves Indiana Jones and has made reference to the comics, especially the Spear of Destiny, as being something they could have done as a movie instead of this.
Okay.
But they deliberately make the Spear of Destiny um, a fake, which, and they point to a scientific artifact, which could have been okay, but they deliberately make that's kind of a dig at Christianity, as they say, this Christian artifact is not real, but here's one that is. And then they make a deliberate, and then that's also a dig at, it can be taken as either a dig at that, it can be taken as a dig at the original source material, saying that stuff, it's no longer relevant. This is. Let's dig at that. It takes a dig at it in a couple of different ways, and there's probably more. I'm just not thinking about them because I haven't seen this movie in a month. But it is taking a dig
Yeah,
at.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
It is taking a dig at those. The CGI isn't that great. I will say the deep fake at the beginning for Harrison Ford is probably the best that we've seen
That I
in
will
a
admit
while,
that was
and it
probably
still wasn't.
some of the
It still
best.
wasn't. It still wasn't great. Like it wasn't
No, but it's
phenomenally
probably some
great.
of the best that I've seen.
Yeah, and they deliberately. And I don't know how great it actually would have been though in like light. They deliberately make it dark during the whole time the movie and that stuff is going on. So
They did. They did. But
so I
I
don't know
mean, you
how
work
good it
with
would
what
have
you can
been
get.
otherwise, but
I think that was probably
that
a
scene was
very
probably
good
the best thing
representation of a
in this
young
film.
Indiana Jones.
That's probably the best thing in this film was that earlier scene where
That
they're
was a good
fighting over.
representation of
That's
young Indiana Jones.
that's probably about the
Um,
best you're gonna get in this whole movie is that beginning like 20 minutes, and the rest of it goes to crap
yeah,
immediately.
I will admit, no, 100%. I really enjoyed the very beginning of the movie. Um, the rest of the movie, I wasn't expecting much from Indiana Jones, the older version, for combat or anything. So I mean, I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting a lot from that character because I'm like, he's a fairly old man at this point, so I'm not
yeah,
really
but
expecting much from him.
you would still expect him to hold his own. It didn't seem like he held his own at all.
Yeah, I will. He held his own at quite a few points. He like so I will
Where
give him credit with that.
can I ask
When
where?
pretty much when he was what?
Can I ask where exactly? Like I'm talking about fighting wise. I'm not talking about like
Yeah,
his
no, no,
ingenuity
no, no, no.
because there's
Oh,
only
I
like
would
one time
say
where I can think about
in the
ingenuity
beginning,
wise where he holds
yeah,
his
no,
own.
no. In the beginning of the movie when he's being pretty much escorted by the Nazis, um, and he's going through the parade, and he pretty much hypes the crowd up saying no more war, no more fighting, blah blah blah, and then
Yeah,
manages to pretty much fight off the Nazis to get away and then hijacks the horse. That was that was probably peak Indiana Jones.
he doesn't
Um,
really fight him off. He punches him and then runs.
I mean, still at a at that age, still works. I was expecting more of a mob where the protesters kind of fought with him, noticing that they were, but I mean, I was just expecting that. I also expected, the police to kind of help more since they didn't seem that far away from a gunshot.
Yeah, and ironically enough, they make him a convict. They essentially say he's the killer when they have video, probably video evidence, and at least several different witnesses of him running from people that are shooting at him. Yet he's a convicted murderer in the film,
Well, it's also that they also hear on the phone from the operator, hey, there's multiple dead
and
people,
that's
blah,
never,
blah, blah.
yeah, and that's never ever cleared up by the end of the film. That's still a loose end by
Mhm.
the end of the film. You never get anything on that. So at the end of the film,
Yeah.
he's wanted for murder.
Yeah, no, I will admit there are a few things throughout the movie that I'm like, I don't
I was about to say a smart aleck comment. A few. I've said the whole
well,
movie.
yeah. Um,
I've basically
but
given you everything, and you've agreed
honestly,
with it, and it's been the whole movie down.
yeah,
So
I still think they should have just ended it with the Last Crusade.
they could. I don't think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a horrible concept as far as like him having a son, finding out that he has a son, all that sort of
No,
stuff.
no, I will admit that was a pretty good concept.
I don't
But
think
then again,
the
I haven't read the comic book,
MacGuffin
so
as it
I
is
don't yeah, I haven't
that
read the comic book, so I don't know what all they could have done after the
I haven't
Last
read the comic
Crusade.
books either, and the comic books
So
are more so kind of like filler material. You get to find out more stuff that's in there. Like I think
yeah, so I
one of
don't
them's
know
about him finding
what they could
Atlantis.
have done.
One of them's about the Spear of Destiny, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I don't know what they could have done for more of the movies, but I still think they probably
Yeah,
should have left off just with the Last Crusade.
I
Um
don't think they wanted to do anymore. Is I think the main reason why they would want to stop, concerned that they were doing
I
relatively
mean
well.
it
So
took them 10, 15 years before they even did the next one roughly, maybe even longer. I don't remember when the Last Crusade came out. I know it was in no, it was probably more like 20 years
mhm.
because I think
Probably.
the Last Crusade came out in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So it was roughly maybe 20 years, 15, 20 years then. I don't
Yeah,
really know.
possibly. I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
But
So,
yeah, this movie sucks. So I'm gonna give it a ranking because I don't think I have done that.
no.
Probably I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. I was gonna give it a
Okay.
3 because of the beginning sequence. I thought that was relatively well done, considering that it's CGI wasn't the greatest. Um, and everything seems fake compared to like stuff we're getting just from the trailers of Mission Impossible, where everything seemed so real, and knowing that they're doing the stuff like genuinely in real life, like no
Yeah,
CGI and stuff. This looks so fake as far as like
yeah.
every action sequence. So while I did think like some of that stuff was good, it's not the greatest. On top of that, the insufferable character of, I think her name is Helena Shaw, skinny toucan
All I
woman.
can
I don't.
remember is Wombat is the nickname he gives her is Wombat, and that's it.
That that
That's
would be an improvement
uh,
on her looks. She does not look good.
I will admit, probably out of all of the female cast they've had for Indiana Jones, um, probably one of the least attractive, in my opinion. Um,
So yeah, she's very much an activist. I don't know if she did any of the writing on this, but her character is L3 one something. I think she is the girl robot that was having sex with Lando in Solo, and she's very much a very woke person, and she's about to be doing Lara Croft.
I mean, I gave up on Lara Croft when they had whatever the last actress was do it. So
Yeah,
obviously, Lara Croft will always be Angelina Jolie in my heart, and no one can change that.
this movie sucks. Hence my 2 out of 10 rating.
I'm gonna have to rewatch Crystal Skull and everything else to give a
Yeah,
better rating or
I
whatever.
think Crystal Skull I'd probably give like
Because
a
I just don't.
6. I'd probably give like a 5 or 6, something like
I
that.
don't, I haven't seen it. Like
Because
I said, I
it's
haven't seen
not
it
great.
in
Add to the
quite a
fact that
few years.
it's an okay film. Add the fact that it's an Indiana Jones film. It's not great, but it's still tolerable. This film, it's not great. Add the fact that
I
it's an Indiana
remember
Jones
it
film, and
had.
it's just insulting.
I remember it had pretty good action scenes. So
The fourth one, yeah, yeah, the fourth one did.
yeah,
Like
that's
like
literally all I remember about it. I don't remember
besides
the plot.
the alien stuff and the Shia LaBeouf swinging with monkeys, I think most of it's relatively good, or relatively okay to good. So
The only
it's
other thing I remember are the ants,
yeah, those are okay. I like those.
and that's it. I know nothing about the plot besides aliens and the Fountain of Youth or whatever. I think that's what it was.
Uh, no, it was the City of Gold or whatever. The
Oh, City of
Aztec
Gold.
City of Gold, yeah.
All I remember was it was some explorer. I forget Ponce de Leon. Was it that one they found?
I don't.
But I thought he was looking for the Fountain of Youth. I don't
No, I think
remember.
it was something Cortez.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. Like I said, it's been at least maybe
Yeah, no,
almost 10
Ponce.
years since I've seen it.
I believe Indiana Jones does try to go looking for the Fountain of Youth in like comic books, but I could be wrong on that too. So that does sound
Okay.
like that would be
I mean, it
something you
sounds
would
like
do
a
in
thing.
comic books, but and it sounds like a good thing that I would like to see. But I don't know. It just this whole movie just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to
I
go
am
back and
never
rewatch.
watching this film again. I will watch the second film and the fourth film way before I watch this one.
I mean, I would watch the second film just because it's an earlier Indiana Jones. It has good action. It's got good
Yeah.
scenes.
And I'd
Um,
watch the fourth one, even though it's not really a great Indiana Jones film. I'd watch that one if I had to if I was watching all three of them and had enough time. I'd watch the fourth one. I would never watch this film. It's kind of like Star Wars. If you watch all the way 1 through 6, you never watch 7, 8, 9. This is kind of how this feels. You cut it off right where it is. It's non-existent.
that's
You know
such
I'm
a
right. You know I'm
such a
right.
real answer.
Such
That's
a
a
real
real
answer.
answer.
Yeah. By the same company too. It's weird. Yeah. All in all, this film sucks.
And we will get Andrew's take on this movie eventually.
Yeah.
Probably. Hopefully. I hope so.
I think Andrew will like
And
this
Andrew,
film.
if you're watching this or listening to this, before you do your review,
What are your
I really
predictions
hope you
on
would do it
Andrew's
before.
thoughts?
Um,
I'm
I
thinking
don't know
he's
if he's seen the other Indiana. Has he seen the other Indiana Jones?
no from what he said. Because remember I made that pun about him last time. I was like,
I have also not seen all of the Indiana Jones. I've probably seen only one or two of them. and it has been over a decade since I've seen one.
You heathen.
And you haven't seen One Piece, so
I
I
think he
don't
might
really
have
know how
seen.
well
I
he'll
think
like
he
it.
might have seen the first one. I
I
think
don't
he'll think
know.
it's okay. I don't know if he's gonna absolutely love it, but I don't think
I
he's gonna
think
hate the
he'll
story.
give it about the same rating as I did.
No, I think he'll give it like a 7.
Hmm, I'm not really sure.
I think he's gonna give it
I
somewhere
think
around a
it if
7.
I think the highest he'll go is like a 6, a 6.5 maybe. I don't think he'll reach 7.
I'm thinking maybe 6 or 7. I don't think he's gonna rank it like a 9 or an
Yeah,
8
no,
might
I
be
don't think he's gonna
viable, but
hit
I don't think he's
7
gonna
because
rank. I think he's gonna rank 7
I don't
because I
think
think he's gonna think it's a good film. I don't think he's
okay.
gonna think it's horrible.
I think he's gonna rate it just below like around 6. And if anything, like yeah, I'll say just around 6, like 5.5 to 6.6. I don't think he's gonna hit 7 though.
Okay. I'm thinking it's gonna be 7 or somewhere like in the higher 6 range. I don't think
Yeah.
it's. I think it's
I
gonna
don't
hit
know,
right around
Andrew.
there.
You let us know.
Andrew will probably in the comment down below saying I haven't seen it yet.
You probably join us next week if you can and if we upload a video for us reviewing the movie Barbie. Ouch, just got bit by a fucking mosquito. Join us next week as we watch and give our takes on the new Barbie movie. I'm sure that's going to be one heck of a ride.
So we'll see you next time on Galactic Reviews.